This is 7th Generation Warfare, and I'm your current host, John Nelson. In this episode, we'll be continuing to look at Marine Corps Doctrinal Publication Number 1, Warfighting. In this episode, we will be looking at the levels of war. Activities in war take place in several interrelated levels which form a hierarchy. These levels are strategic, operational, and tactical. The highest level is the strategic level. Activities at the strategic level focus directly on policy objectives. Strategy applies to peace as well as war. We distinguish between national strategy, which coordinates and focuses all other elements of national power to attain the policy objectives, and military strategy, which is the application of military force to secure the policy objectives. So, the country's objectives would include actions like the State Department and any diplomacy, anything going on in embassies, things like that. The military strategic level is really just how you're conducting the large scale operations of war. And for 7th generation warfare, I don't know that there needs to be a distinguish between the national strategy and the military strategy because I think there's just one strategic level, and that is the very broad scope of how you're fighting your 7th generation warfare. What are the main campaigns you are looking to engage in, such as genealogical pursuits and knowing where your family came from and passing that information on to your kids. Having the genealogical records would be a strategic effort, or perhaps the ready side up would be another strategic operation as a whole. Military strategy thus is subordinate to national strategy. Military strategy can be thought of as the art of winning wars and securing peace. Strategy involves establishing goals, assigning forces, providing assets, and imposing conditions on the use of force in theaters of war. Strategy derived from political and policy objectives must be clearly understood to be the sole authoritative basis for all operations. Well, as somebody who went to Afghanistan, I could say at the tactical level where I was, I had no idea what their strategy or political or policy objectives were for Afghanistan. But I like this part about establishing goals, assigning forces, providing assets, and imposing conditions for the use of force. So the strategic level in 7th generation warfare is also about understanding your own will, but how much of your time and effort you want to allocate to the 7th generation warfare, and where in the 7th generation warfare your time is best utilized. Now, for me, I'm all over the place. I have a lot of pokers in the fire, a lot of whatever that analogy is. And I'm new at the concept, so I'm a little all over the place, and I'm really just kind of following my heart where it tells me to go. And that's a good way to keep your interest high, too. I'm writing family folklore, pursuing genealogical records, doing the more the prepping thing. I'm reading military doctrine, all the above. As time goes on, I will get better at identifying where I need to strategically locate my time in order to have the best effect. But right now, my children are still young, and I'm not really concerned about selling them on the concept. I don't have any grandchildren, so really I can do with my time a lot more what I will. I have to sneeze. I don't know if it's going to come out. There we go. The lowest level is the tactical level. Tactics refers to the concept and methods used to accomplish a particular mission in either combat or military operations. In war, tactics focuses on the application of combat power to defeat an enemy force in combat at a particular time and place. A non combat situation, tactics may include the schemes and methods by which we perform other missions, such as enforcing order and maintaining security during peacekeeping operations. We normally think of tactics in terms of combat, and in this context, tactics can be thought of as the art and science of winning engagements in battles. It includes the use of firepower and maneuver, the integration of different arms, and the immediate exploitation of success to defeat the enemy. Included within the tactical level of war is the performance of combat service support functions such as resupply or maintenance. For 7th generation warfare, I see tactics as, it's your day-to-day life. So, whereas strategically we might have all these ideas about 7th generation warfare, what it really ultimately boils down to is how you're interacting with your children and grandchildren and your parents and grandparents and great-grandchildren, etc. What kind of relationships you're building with them and how intentionally they perceive you as caring about your whatever your position is, father, son, grandfather, whatever your position is, how they see you in that role and how well you're performing in that role so that they might want to emulate it or so that they might also want to engage in 7th generation warfare. So it's good to have a strategic level high in the mighty ideas about securing our descendants' ability to exercise their will for generations ad infinitum. But what are you doing when you're face to face with them, when you have that free time? Should you even choose to have the free time, which you should? How much time are you making for your kids? Those sort of things are the tactical level, I think, in 7th generation warfare. The tactical level also includes technical application and combat power, which consists of those techniques and procedures for accomplishing specific tasks within a tactical action. These include the call for fire, techniques of fire, the operations of weapons and equipment, and the tactical movement techniques. There is certain overlap between tactics and techniques. We make the point only to draw the distinction between tactics, which require judgment and creativity, and techniques and procedures, which generally involve repetitive routine. So, techniques and procedures too. I mean, there is a lot that goes into the tactical level of parenting, and the more you can put into techniques and procedures, which generally involve repetition and routine, or repetitive routine, the more you can practice a certain way of doing things, the more you can set up a schedule or just a routine for your family, the more it can free up some of your mind. But you don't want your children to think that you're a robot either, that there is no freedom in the family or in the household, that everything has to be specific, have a specific spot or do something at a specific time, that there can be no expression of character and action. So you don't want to put everything into technique or procedure. but it can certainly help in your parenting. And lastly, the operational level of war links the strategic and tactical levels. It is the use of tactical results to attain strategic objectives. The operational level includes deciding when, where, and under what conditions to engage the enemy in battle, and when, where, and under what conditions to refuse battle in support of higher aims. Actions at this level imply a broader dimension of time and space than actions at the tactical level. As strategy deals with winning wars and tactics with winning battles and engagements, the operational level of war is the art and science of winning campaigns. Its means are tactical results, and its ends are the establishment of strategic objectives. So it links the mundane, the day-to-day, with the 1,000-foot elevation 7th generation war strategies and campaigns that you're trying to fight. And so I think the operational level really comes down to continuously assessing the battlefield of your 7th generation warfare as it unfolds. How many kids are you having? What are those kids interested in? How might you better encourage them to become family people themselves? How can you encourage them to see the severity of not parenting well? How do you get them to want to take up the flag of all the efforts that you are putting into your 7th generation warfare? And that is going to be, like I said, continuously changing from early childhood, where I'm at with my kids. I can dream whatever I want to dream, but as they get into teenagers or into young adulthood and start looking for romantic relationships themselves, in order to obtain my strategic level goals, my tactics are going to have to change, and that is the operational level of merging the strategic level. This is what I want my 7th generation warfare to obtain, and these are the ideas of how I'm going to obtain my big goals. And this is the day-to-day tactical level. The operational level is in between. The distinction between the levels of war are rarely clearly delineated in practice. Good, because I feel like I'm having a hard time delineating them. I am kind of doing this on the fly, but leave some comments if you can express what I'm trying to express in a little bit better detail. There are, to some extent, only a matter of scope and scale. Usually there is some amount of overlap, as a single commander may have responsibilities at more than one level. As shown in Figure 1, the overlap might be slight. This will likely be the case in large-scale conventional conflicts involving large military formations and multiple theaters. In such case, there are fairly distinct strategic, operational, and tactical domains, and most commanders will find their activities focused at one level or another. However, in other cases, the levels of war may compress so that there is significant overlap, as shown in Figure 2, especially in either a nuclear war or military operation other than war. A single commander may operate at 2 or even 3 levels simultaneously. In a nuclear war, strategic decision about the direction of the war and tactical decisions about employment of weapons are essentially one and the same. In a military operation other than war, even small unit leaders, for example, may find that tactical actions have direct strategic implications. And so this is the overlap they're talking about. So here the levels are pretty well separated, and here the levels have a lot of overlap. And so I think, as I was saying, I think that will, for seventh generation warfare, that will change. That will change over time too, as you know, as more warfighters join the fight. Um, Perhaps we can elongate it a little bit, in that, say, when my kids start having kids, they can be focusing on the tactics of peaceful parenting, being good parents, being present for their children, um, and I can stay focused on the strategic level, give them some operational directives as needed to help them in their parenting and things like that. But they can stay at the tactical level, where they're needed. And then as their kids age, then maybe we have different sectors. Me as a grandparent, them as a parent of grown children. Maybe we can have different strategic or operational campaigns that we are fighting individually, our specialties, if you will, um, and and so I don't know. I'll be interested to see how it plays out. All in all, the strategic, operational, and tactical levels of seeing conflict is a very good way to break down war in one's mind and think of. I do it for my business too, so we'll talk a little bit about business. I tend to be I tend to be very good at the strategic level of business, thinking how I want to run my business, what I want to do with my business, and the tactics. I'm in construction. I'm good at doing the actual work. I am not good at the operational level. I see the operational level as the person, you know, doing. I'm okay with estimates, but doing the estimates, doing material takeoffs, that the office work type of stuff, communicating with clients, those sort of things are things that I don't actually really like to do. Um, but if you are in seeking entrepreneurship at all, it's a good way to break down your business that you're starting. Is what is the, if you could be three people, the daydreamer dreaming about the job, that's kind of the strategic level. The person doing the actual productive work is the tactical level, and the operational level is the person who connects the dream world to the real world, if you will. So, just a extra little tidbit. Anyways, this is seventh generation warfare. This episode was on the levels of war.